Hey there, welcome. Today I want to talk about simplicity. And I want to talk about it in a bunch of different ways. Ironically, this might get messy in terms of me rambling and complex, but to sum it up, everything is extremely simple. It's all one infinite being, and for some reason we're attached to a set of memories and a set of interpretations, which obviously we're capable of doing since we're part of infinity, all capable. But we don't need anything beyond our present beingness. There's nowhere to go that is necessarily better. There's nothing to do, nothing to be that is like factually gonna last forever and be factually the best or anything like this. Our present consciousness, our present awareness is enough to flow into that eternal stream. And that's the thing. It's so simple. It's so beautiful. You can't even measure it. You can't put numbers on it. There's no beginning. There's no end. Just those two things are more complicated than what it actually is. It is one infinite this. No edges, no beginning, no end. We're completely a part of it. There's nothing you can point out. There's nothing you can think of that isn't it. And there's no limit in sight. Everything we experience is this. And at the same time, it's very obvious. Things relating to health, things relating to pleasure and pain, things relating to functional societies or homes or communities, mechanics and physics and the seeming laws of our physical universe. We have to discover them, but oftentimes they are just simple, it's just like, grab object, it falls when you let go. We can put numbers on it, we can talk about it all day long, but really the act itself is just a simple happening. And everything is like this. And this is where I love non-duality and have problems with certain levels of non-duality, because non-duality can often be summarized as it's all ordinary mind. There's some Chinese Zen Buddhists that say it's just ordinary mind. There's nothing beyond ordinary mind. And they're kind of right. It's just this. This is God. This is the perfection we've been looking for. And, I mentioned this in the seeking versus not seeking video. So it's kind of a riff on that, but it's interesting to talk about it in this day and age because we have so much content. We have so many books. We have podcasts. We have audiobooks. We have interviews, we have free online courses, we have paid for online courses, we have universities across the globe where you can probably find some class in the theology or philosophy section that relates to the non-dual reality, the pinnacle of verbal understanding in terms of enlightenment and reality. And there's a lot of the same shit over and over and over again, not because we're dumb, not because we aren't creative, not because we don't know it truly. Sometimes that's the case. But because it's simple. Awareness is always present. You can't escape it. It's what we're always doing. It's what we all are. It's the entirety of who we are. And we're more than what we're aware of, but we'll never be not aware. Even in sleep, Awareness is happening. It exists. Even if it doesn't exist for you in that moment, or at least you don't remember it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And this awareness is completely connected to the infinite substratum of this vast multiverse. It's beyond intelligent, beyond amazing, beyond loving. And so when we're taught to just breathe, just sit, just be mindful, just look and observe your sensations and your thoughts and your feelings. These simple meditation techniques that have been talked about for thousands of years, and there are people that wrote books about them and made millions saying the same shit. It's because it's simple, and it's honestly simple. The honesty is simple. And we talk about this in non-duality, but then non-duality gets complex. Unnecessarily so sometimes. Sometimes this is just a contextual happening where a teacher's trying to get their students or people they're speaking to out of a loop. And the complexity is really just in response to a person trying to hold on to many fabricated pieces of reality. But sometimes it's people that are incomplete in their non-dual experience and they create these complexities, myself included. And so this video is just about letting that simplicity sink in. One of the complexities we do is called spiritual bypassing. We basically try to encapsulate some insight, memory of awakening, or realization of infinity, of God. And we try to paste it over our habits, our attachments, our addictions, our maybe not so good ways of being. And this is unnecessarily complex because it requires a fabrication, it requires a concept, it requires a memory, it requires labels, it requires resisting the natural flow of love, which it's pretty obvious. It's gonna help us be healthy. We're gonna exercise, we're gonna eat healthy foods. We're gonna eat foods that don't cause suffering to other beings. We're going to embrace when somebody says, ow, we're hurting, can you stop that? Because we are them, we are one. It's a simple existence. There's not two, it's just this. So there's no resistance in simplicity. Resistance is already complicated. I'm not saying I don't resist. It's because I've resisted and I still do, and I'm aware of it, and I've been effective at removing a portion of it, that I feel upright to talk about it. Simplicity also is just accepting things as they are. It doesn't mean they're not going to change. It doesn't mean we're not going to be inactive. It just means, well, most of it's out of my control, so why would I be swayed to be unhappy for things I can't control? Why would I, just as much as why would I resist things I can control, why would I be unhappy about things I can't control? This is also part of the simplicity. How many times have you heard the quote, like, don't worry about the things you can't control and give me the courage to change the things I can, like this quote, it's a widespread quote for who knows, decades, maybe even hundreds of years, because it's simple. There's a reason we seek ancient teachings, even though we're here with like iPhones and virtual reality and Wi-Fi everywhere and microwaves, because the core of existence is literally the same, and it's always the same. It's one simple happening together forever. So we seek maybe people that didn't have these distractions. They didn't have, they didn't get arrested for being not on their property because no one really owned shit to the same degree they own now. people weren't seen as like schizophrenic just because like they're having yogic experiences. They had freedom to just be with the simple reality. I think there's this intuitive draw to these teachings because they hit at the core of consciousness, and that allows us to hit at the core of our present day consciousness when we have maybe a few extra distractions compared to the past. Not that they didn't, but there's no dearth of entertainment and pleasurable distracting experiences and painful distracting experiences these days. And this is where holistic practices kind of come in. It's simple to realize, well, there's like infinite possibilities because it's all one infinite thing. So I might need to like learn new techniques at different times. I might need to try yoga here. I might need to just do squats here. I might need to do breathing meditation here. I might need to do visualization here. There's a simplicity in realizing like, oh, it's not all about meditating and reaching these vibratory heights. It is about just making sure the body is well taken care of, making sure the home is clean and fresh and not riddled with mold spores and rats and disease. Like, you can do that. We can face all hardships and learn through them and find God through anything. But if you find some semblance of God before disease, there's no reason to make disease happen when it's almost a guaranteed suffering. That's kind of this weird thing. People can learn about their consciousness through pain and hardship, especially ones that just happen without their control. But it's actually kind of hard to embrace realization if we actively make disease happen, actively make suffering and pain happen. That's just like overly complicated. Why are we doing that when we know it's all one existence and we don't need to make ourselves suffer? It's kind of a sign of separation. It's a sign of not really engaging with the realization and having like picking and choosing. It's a sign of like wanting our attachments and holding on to them and keeping control of those, even if they make disease, even if they make things bad. So in the simple world of love and boundlessness, struggle can happen and we will embrace it. But the signs and the awareness to prevent struggle and prevent suffering will also happen, and we will just do them. And I think that's a thing missing in a lot of the non-dual world, and even kind of in just like the new age world, is this simple, holistic sense of living where we take on the insights that the universe gives us, we apply them, and we don't allow more suffering to happen than necessary. Because why would we? Is that something we really want? Do we want to suffer disease and pain if we're in like a realized state? We might, in circumstances, take on extra pain to help someone else or help many people. That's a bit different than what I see in the world, where it's like people kind of get these glimpses of something beyond, of something related to enlightenment or moksha or God. And they're given the insights of change, of changing to a healthier way of being, of a way that helps other people, that houses them, that feeds them, that gives them the tools to realize oneness. And then I really see a lot of people just ignore those. I don't know why. They don't completely ignore them, but the amount of like dying, unhealthy, in pain, overweight, Buddhist, Hindu style people that have had realizations, the amount of that I've seen is a lot. There's no judgment on them. It's just a sign that they're not embracing the simplicity of all of this. We don't need to fight the fact that kale is good for us. There's no resistance necessary. We don't need to fight the fact that giving somebody a place to live is a good thing. We don't need to contrive negative circumstances to convince ourselves to not share our wealth. We don't need to seek the whole globe and have flight emissions pollute the airs while we try to find some crazy obscure tantric ritual to increase our ecstasy, when that's just what we can do when we do this simple thing that is our boundless one self, that is God. And I say this not in any judgmental way, just as one, it's talking to myself, but two, I just don't really see this advocacy for holistic living, for this simple modality in much of the spiritual discourse. It's very focused on the mind and on consciousness and on the pinnacle understandings and on the big things, it's all Buddha, it's all wrong, or there's no nirvana, there's no samsara. And I get this is attractive, and sometimes these are really good realizations, but it doesn't encapsulate the whole other side of it, which is chop wood and carry water. But sometimes chop wood and carry water turns into has solar panel and pumps water with solar powered pump. These also, some of the simple explanations and examples of non-duality show stagnancy. They show a resistance to change. They show a resistance to technology or a resistance to new ways of being. Those new ways of being, those are just God too. And I just want people and sentient beings to coalesce into this infinite consciousness together. And I say this because I have resistances. I make my life more complicated than it needs to be. I create problems out of thin air, and I don't need to. So I hope that me reflecting on my crap can help some of you. Thank you so much for watching. Om Sai Ram.